Hello. Newman282 here, and welcome back to yet another tier list because, damn it, I love doing tier lists, and honestly, they kind of perform the best on my channel. So I'm just, I love it. It's so fun. So today, though, because we are at the very beginning, well, spooky season for me started on September 1st. Honestly, that's when Halloween begins. My house is already decorated. It's a whole thing. But we are coming up into the grand old month of Halloween, my all-time favorite season, which regularly celebrates my all-time favorite genre, which is horror, and I'm very, very excited. So to celebrate, to mark the kickoff, which I might upload this October. I'm probably gonna wait till October because I'm recording this on September 28th, and I know this ain't gonna be ready by October 1st, so this works. So to kick off the start of the official Halloween season, we are going to be ranking the top rated horror video game of every year, starting with the year 2000. Now, a couple disclaimers and rules, criteria, etc., etc. So first of all of my ratings I got from GameSpot. It's not actually my preferred review site, but Metacritic was impossible to maneuver. I tried to like filter my search criteria, and it was just a nightmare to do. It never worked. The website would bug out. I tried it on multiple browsers. It was a whole thing. So unfortunately, we can't use Metacritic, which is usually what I look at, but we're going to go ahead and be using GameSpot, which did prove easier to look at. Now, the other disclaimer I have is GameSpot, though easier to use, was not easy to use. There are times where it would show me one thing and then in the middle of a search for another thing, completely disregard that and be like, actually, this one was the top rated one of this year. So I went back and did some editing as much as I could in terms of my notes, but we get what we get here. And I can't guarantee the accuracy of this. So this is just based off of what I found in my research through specifically GameSpot, because I didn't want to have to do different ones. Also, I tried to avoid any ports or remasters. Remakes are fair game, though, so remakes are absolutely fair game. But remasters and ports are not. I think there's only one or two moments where I specify console. Usually it's an overall. But there is one for sure I'm looking at that I do specify the console. But yeah, so I'm excited to start this. Now, I have actually played a majority of these games, thankfully. I was really worried about that. But of course, I brought back the I don't know her category just in case we come across one that I have not played through yet. So like I said, we're going to be doing this from the year 2000 all the way to our current year, 2023, up to obviously to the end of September. So of course this might not be the top rated horror game of 2023 at the end, but it's going to be what we have for now, at least according to GameSpot. Cannot stress that enough. So yeah, so we're going to go ahead, dive in. I got my spooky lights. I got my stuff ready. We're going to do this. So my hair is a disaster because I went for a bike ride, which yes, cheer me on, applaud me. I'm trying to be healthier. I'm trying to work out more. I'm not trying to, I don't eat better. I still eat like a garbage man, but whatever. So yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the year 2000. So according to reviews, the top rated horror game of the year 2000 was Resident Evil Code Veronica, specifically for the Dreamcast, but once again, I'm not really focusing on that one more. So I have played Resident Evil Code Veronica. Now, it was originally released on February 3rd of 2000, and it scored a 9.5 out of 10, which is a shockingly good rating, in my opinion. Yeah, and honestly, I agree with that rating. I loved Code Veronica. I played it back in middle school. I had it for the PS2 when they did I want to say it was Resident Evil. It was Resident Evil Outbreak. No, it was Resident Evil Code Veronica, Resident Evil 4, and then Resident Evil Outbreak, all for the PS2. And Resident Evil Outbreak is my all-time favorite Resident Evil game. No, second favorite Resident Evil game. We'll get to my first one later, but I absolutely loved that little combo pack, and I played the hell out of all 3 of them. Code Veronica is honestly one of my all-time favorites Resident Evils, and I really hope we get a remake here. But yeah, and like I said, I played the hell out of this. It was a great game. We're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna start off strong because once again, whenever I do these, I do move them around. I'm putting Code Veronica in God tier. I absolutely adore this game. Everything about it just screamed classic for me, and I can go back and play it still to this day. And I hate tank controls. All right, so on to another iconic game. So the top-rated horror game of the year 2001 was Silent Hill 2. Now, Silent Hill, as you guys know, is my all-time favorite series of anything, of any media. I have a tattoo from the video game of the nurse over the sign. I have a tattoo of the symbol from the movie, which I think is also in some of the games. I don't remember, but I adore Silent Hill. It is the actual first game I ever played with my father, which is, I feel like, speaks a lot about my childhood. The first Silent Hill was, at least. But Silent Hill 2, iconic. I am so excited for the remake. Do I wish they were remaking 1 and 3 instead? That's between me and myself. But I am still really hyped anytime Silent Hill gets any kind of attention. And rightfully so, it won Game of the Year, or it was the horror game of the year. Because, so Silent Hill 2 released on September 24th, 2001. Shockingly, at least according to the reviews I found, it was rated a 7.9 out of 10, which I think is atrocious. I did look through some of the other reviews that were retroactive reviews that rated it way higher, but still in 2001 this was still the top rated, according to GameSpot, the top rated horror video game. So I will go ahead. This is God tier, 110% God tier, and it goes at the top of God tier. There is no beating this game. I don't know if there's any other game that I'm gonna put above it, genuinely. And I have some of my all-time favorite games in this roster, so we'll see. We'll see though. We'll see how I feel. Okay, so next we have the top-rated horror game of 2002 was Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem. Now, I have not played a lot of this game. I definitely want to. It's just a really expensive game to buy, and I'm too lazy to emulate sometimes. I know, or I don't emulate at all, because emulation is bad. But the thing, like I said, this game is just really expensive, and as a collector, I want to own it so bad. This and Haunting Ground are like at the top of my list of games I want to own. But holy crap. Expensive. But it's great. It is from the little I played, I did love it. It was honestly so groundbreaking. The insanity system was insane. And I think it's great. But because of my lack of actual hands-on experience with the game, I'm gonna put it into decent. Now, I might get flack for that. I don't know. We'll see how you guys feel, but whatevs. Okay. So Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem was released on June 24th of 2002, and it scored a 9.4 out of 10. Another solid contender here. All right, so we're back to one of my faves. The top-rated horror game of the year 2003 was, coincidentally, Clock Tower 3. My favorite iteration of the Clock Tower series. I have played most of them. I think I've played all of them, but I don't want to really quote that. But yeah, Clock Tower 3 I loved. It was so different from the other ones. It was so far removed. It had this almost magical girl aspect to it. It was wild. Alyssa is one of my all-time favorite horror protagonists. Not because she's a great, feminist icon or anything. She kind of sucks in that aspect, if we're being real. But when she goes off, she goes off. And I think that's honestly amazing. And frankly, I think I would be responding the same way as her in these situations. So Clock Tower 3 was released on March 18th of 2003. And once again, I'm not sure if this actually was the top-rated game, but according to my research, what I was able to find on the one place I looked, because I wasn't doing that much research, it was. And it scored a 7.3 out of 10. Not amazing. It is still, a lot of people love it, especially now. I feel like it would get rated a little bit more now. But I honestly loved it. I really did. I'm gonna put it at decent above Eternal Darkness only because I'm gonna say it's the nostalgia and it's my love for the game itself. Next, we have the top rated game of 2004, horror game of 2004, is a game called Ghost Hunter. I don't know this game. I have never heard of it before this research. I never played it, but it was released on August 17th in 2004, and it got an 8 out of 10. Now, what upsets me about this, it beat out Silent Hill 4 by 0.1, which I'm so upset. Silent Hill 4, according to GameSpot, got a 7.9 out of 10. And I love Silent Hill 4. I think it is the unsung hero of the Silent Hill series. I really would love to see a remake with a lot more attention put into it, because just everything about it was really cool and groundbreaking, but there should have been more. But yeah, so Ghost Hunter won it, and I'm sorry to say to all these Ghost Hunter fans, I don't know her. Sorry to this man, I don't know her. Okay, so now we're going into territory where I'm going to possibly get controversial, so be ready to hate me. So we have the top rated game. Hold on. We have the top rated horror game of 2005 was Resident Evil 4. Now, Resi 4 was released on January 11th, 2005 and got a 9.6 out of 10. That means that, according to the research I read, that basically means that there were 11 other months of possible horror games that came out that did not beat Resi 4. It didn't. This is gonna be, people I know hate my opinion on this. Resi 4 is one of my least favorite Resident Evils. Mainly because, and I think I need to replay it, especially the remake, I need to play it as an adult, because I think I would gain more appreciation for it, because I love like Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village, but the departure from the zombie apocalypse felt so drastic for me, especially because when I played Resident Evil 4, I played it after playing through 2, Code Veronica, 0, and then I played the living crap out of Outbreak. And then I moved on to Resident Evil 4, and it was like it was a different game. It was a different game series. It didn't feel the same. We were no longer dealing with zombies. These enemies had weapons. These were yes, we had the mutated monsters. We had the bioweapons, which was cool, and we kind of delved more into that. But if I'm being honest, that's not what drew me to Resident Evil. What drew me to Resident Evil was the zombies. I mean, it always was. I was that kid who was obsessed with zombies. Dead Island, Dead Rising, all of those games. I ate that up. Left 4 Dead, even like terrible games that I found on Steam that managed to run on my mini laptop. Like, I adored zombies as a trope, as a everything. I loved it. I ate it up. So Resident Evil 4, I'm so sorry, it's going into super okay. It wasn't a bad game. I played it. I beat it. I just didn't like it. It felt like the scares of the prior Resident Evils, outside of course, the big, massive monsters that you fought in all the other Resident Evil games, the biggest scares was that, like, these slow, shambling zombies by themselves were nothing, but you ran out of ammo and they cornered you, you were done. It was over. And I think that was just the epitome of game design, for me at least. Because that was true survival horror, For me. And this was also where you can pinpoint they started to teeter into action instead of horror. Resident Evil 5 being the prime example of that, and we'll get to that later. Now moving on. This one, I triple checked on GameSpot, and this is probably just an error with their filter system and how I was searching, or how they search, because horror is considered a subcategory, but then not everything has to have a subcategory, so it's weird. But I did multiple searches on GameSpot, and the top critically reviewed horror game of 2006 was the movie tie-in game Monster House, specifically for the Game Boy Advance, which scored an 8.2 out of 10. All the other versions, I think it was the GameCube and the PlayStation 2 version, scored like miserably, like 6 something out of 10. Meanwhile, the Game Boy Advance version apparently was like God's gift. My God. And I love that. I hope it wasn't a mistake. I really do hope that Monster House for the Game Boy Advance was the top-rated horror game of 2006. But I don't know her. I've never played... I know, I call myself a horror aficionado, and I've never played Monster House for the GBA that came out in 2006. Who would have known? Okay, so next we have the top-rated horror game of 2007, which was BioShock, another heavy hitter. I mean, you gotta be when you're up in the upper echelon of these reviews, you have to be a heavy hitter. And BioShock is honestly one of my all-time favorite games. Yeah, I absolutely adored BioShock. And so BioShock was released on August 21st of 2007, and it received a 9 out of 10 rating. BioShock is god tier. It's going right under Silent Hill 2. BioShock was the first time I experienced horror and RPG melding, which was such a unique concept for me at the time, and I thought that was so cool, and I wanted every game to be like that. In my brain it was like, oh, this is like Fallout meets Silent Hill in terms of like genre bending, and I loved it. I absolutely adored it. This was also when I was huge into RPGs, so if you gave me a semi-open world with customizable options, you got me. Okay. So the next year we have, the top rated horror game of 2008, we have Condemned to Bloodshot. Speaking of semi-open world, I think it was semi-open world, I don't remember fully, but I loved it. Condemned to Bloodshot was such a cool game for me. It's actually going to go on decent category. I'm still putting it below Clock Tower 3 because Clock Tower 3 just iconic. Like, it's iconic. I can't even argue that. But Condemned to Bloodshot was released on March 11th, 2008 and scored an 8.5 out of 10, which, you know, not the highest on our list, but so far not even the lowest. And I absolutely loved it. So it was a great game. It's going in decent tier. Now we're going to get into the thick of it. So the top rated horror game of 2009 was Resident Evil 5. Thanks, I hate it. I hated Resi 5. Did I play the absolute hell out of it? Yeah. Was I happy about it? Not at all. It wasn't scary. It wasn't a horror game, in my opinion. It was Call of Duty, third person. It sucked. I hated it. It just took away so much of the survival horror. And then not to mention, they provided us with one of the potentially coolest partner characters in Sheva, and gave her she's nobody. We literally have not heard of her since then. At least not that I can recollect. And I'm sorry, Sheva is one of those characters, they need to bring her back. She deserves to have a solo game to flesh her out. Please. Resi 9 sounds like, Resident Evil 9, boom, Sheva, I think her name was Olimar. Sheva Olimar. My camera, there we go. Sheva deserved more. And they gave her nothing. She was just there to be weird eye candy at times, and it just sucked. I hated it. And I didn't think the game was good. I thought the story was trash, especially the DLC story was even worse. It was just... This was the truest glimpse of the first, in my opinion, bad Resident Evil game. However, critics did not think that initially. Resident Evil 5 released on March 13th in 2009 and received an 8.5 out of 10 from critics. Guys, come on, do better. Do better. Okay, so next we have the year 2010, which brings us to the game Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I know I've used the word iconic a lot, but if you're a horror game, there's a chance you're going to end up being iconic, and that's what it is. It is what it is. Amnesia: The Dark Descent was a utterly terrifying game, a masterclass in horror. It's actually going to go at the top of my decent category only because I refuse to play it again. I played through about half of it. I actually got it as a graduation gift years after it came out. I graduated in 2014. That's when I got it from my cousin Cody, and it was too much. I could not handle it. The insanity system was crazy. The lack of everything, it was just so terrifying, and I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. Meaning I couldn't actually fully enjoy the game. Sometimes something being too scary for me is detrimental to my enjoyment of it, and it causes me problems as a horror fan. But Amnesia: The Dark Descent was released on September 8th, 2010, and scored an 8 out of 10. Next, we have a personal favorite in terms of, I don't even know, this is considered horror subcategory. Sorry, that was my phone. Considered horror subcategory, but it's honestly like platformer action, and I adore it. It's Alice Madness Returns, and I absolutely love Alice. So once again, these rankings could be utterly false, or the reviews could be utterly false. What I found could be wrong, but for 2011, Alice Madness Returns was the top rated game on GameSpot under the quote-unquote horror category. Now, Alice Madness Returns was released on June 14th, 2011, scored a 7 out of 10, which is okay. I mean, it was good, not great. And but it was honestly such a fun game. The story was so great. It was a phenomenal follow-up to the first game, and I believe when I bought this, I actually got the first game for free. And I did play through that, and it was a very hard thing to play through because, Jesus, the mechanics and the controls were awful. But it was so good because of the story. And I think that the aesthetic and presentation alone of Madness Returns kind of captured all of my interests in 2011. And frankly, it's God tier for me. I am going to put it below Code Veronica. But yeah. I really don't want to start shuffling because I think I'm actually going to move Condemned to down to super okay. I do love that game, but it had its problems, and that's why I never finished it. I don't think I finished it, but it was still cool. So I'm just going to move to super okay. It's fine. Whatever. It's my list. Okay, next we have 2012, which the game that kind of hit the top of the horror charts in 2012 was Lone Survivor, which is a game I have never heard of. I think I recognized, when I was doing my research, I recognized screenshots from it, never played it, never actually heard of it. I'll still put it above Monster House. But yeah, so Lone Survivor was released on April 23rd in 2012 and scored an 8.5 out of 10. And I mean, I'm sure it was cool. It was during that time when side-scrollers were making a comeback. Indie developers were doing a lot of pixel art and side-scrollers, and that was kind of... It was right before the market became oversaturated with them, so... I probably could have gotten into it if I played it, but I didn't. But now we get into some more good stuff. So, 2013, the top-rated horror game of that year was State of Decay. State of Decay is my all-time favorite zombie game. I almost want to say it's tied with State of Decay 2, because State of Decay 2 had... They're both the perfect ones for different reasons. State of Decay 2 fixed almost all of the problems that State of Decay 1 had, and did allow for a lot more customization and added the multiplayer aspect, which was always missing from State of Decay. I believe it was originally supposed to be implemented, but they just decided to take all the work they had done on it and move it to the sequel. Here, my main issue, State of Decay 1, if I'm remembering correctly, you can have a community of up to 60 survivors, and you can as long as that community member has trust in the community, you can play as that character, and they have their own perks. They're randomly generated. They have their own skill sets, their own level up trees. Like, it was honestly so way ahead of its time. And then of course State of Decay 2 kind of expanded on that, but they lowered it down to like 10. I think the max was like 12 or 13 people in a community, which was ridiculous to me. But being so much later in the apocalypse, I think that would kind of make some sense. But either way, State of Decay 1 was absolutely outrageously phenomenal, and I will forever adore it. And because of that, it's going above BioShock for me. And we're bumping Alice Madness Returns down to decent. Yeah, no. State of Decay is the epitome of, it's a combination of RPG, of tactical RPG, of resource management and community sims. It's just everything you could want in a game like this. And then State of Decay 2 just took all of that and upped the ante, except for one part, which is why I find them tied. I don't think either of them really excel more than the other. But State of Decay 3 is going to fix everything, and I'm going to love it, and if I don't, I'm going to cry. If we ever get it. So, next we have 2014, which brings us to Dark Souls 2. Now, if you asked me 3 years ago if I thought Dark Souls was a horror game, I would say no. And I would say I hate Dark Souls. Then I played Dark Souls. Yeah. It is a role-playing game where you are role-playing as the victim. Oh my god. Dark Souls is a horror game. I'm sorry. It just is. But I think that of all Soulsborne games, honestly, and I love them now. I actually have a really deep appreciation for Soulsborne games now. But yeah, so Dark Souls... Oh, right. Real quick, I don't think I gave State of Decay... It got an 8 out of 10, sorry. But anyways, back to Dark Souls. Dark Souls 2 was released on March 11th, 2014, and got a 9 out of 10. It's honestly such a solid game, but because I got into Dark Souls so late, it's not really one that I have a lot of playtime with. So I'm actually going to put it in super okay, below Condemned 2. I played a lot more of Bloodborne, and of course now I'm like playing through, I played through Elden Ring, I'm playing through like Wo Long and Lies of P, so I think I do want to eventually revisit Dark Souls 2 and really get into it, because I think it would probably be moved up higher on this list, but for now, at least in my opinion, I'm putting it at super okay. Next we have 2015, where Soma was the top-rated horror game of 2015. It was released on September 2nd. I put Surst? No. September 2nd, 2015, and it got a 9 out of 10. I'm gonna be real. I had heard like about this game, but I have never played Soma. I honestly don't even know a lot about it. Doing research for it though, I think I'm gonna play it. It looks great. But unfortunately right now, I don't know her. And so she's going to the category. Okay, so next we have... I'm actually missing a game here that I just realized. Oops. Oh well, it's fine. So next we have The Walking Dead: A New Frontier. This was I think the second, this was either another season or its own standalone story based within the Walking Dead Telltale series games. And it was released on December 20th, 2016, and scored a 9 out of 10. Now, I was already too far into my research to go back and start editing really editing the older stuff that I had found. But this reminded me that, the Walking Dead Telltale series won Game of the Year. That's probably the number one horror game of that year. Okay. But we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about the 2016 entry. It was released on December 20th, 2016 and scored a 9 out of 10, so just at the tail end of the year. And I'm going to be honest, I played A New Frontier. I played almost all of the Walking Dead Telltale games. I didn't like A New Frontier. It did not grip me the way that the main series did, nor did it grip... it just didn't catch me. And I don't hate it, but it's going at the bottom of super okay. The only reason it's not going into thanks I hate it is because I didn't hate it. But that category is about to be full, about to get another entry. In 2017, the game actually no. So 2017 was a game called Observer. I don't have it here on my list on my pictures for some reason. I guess I forgot to upload that one. Whatever. But I can tell you right now where it's going to go. I don't know her. I had never heard of Observer before, knew nothing about it, but apparently it was a great game. It was released on August 15th. It was released on August 15th of 2017 and scored a 9 out of 10. So apparently it was good, but it would have gone in I don't know her if I had the picture. Andrew, I don't know if you want to pull like a thing from Observer and place it in the I don't know her category, or you could just make me look like an idiot doing all this hand motions. Honestly, dealer's choice. Okay, next we have 2018, which brings us to the game The Inpatient. The Inpatient was a PlayStation VR game. I believe, I don't know if it's set in the same world as Until Dawn, but it's from the same creators. And I did play this. I played it at my cousin's house. And I hated it. Slightly less than Resident Evil 5, but I hated it. It just wasn't... I was expecting a virtual reality version of Until Dawn. You know what I mean? Like, I was expecting a whole new way to experience a game like Until Dawn, and it just wasn't it. And it genuinely upset me. Until Dawn is one of my all-time favorite horror games. You hear me say that a lot. I got a lot of favorite horror games. And The Inpatient really was just such a letdown. Surprisingly, it was released January 23rd of 2018. It scored an 8 out of 10. From me, scored like a 2 out of 10. Hated it. Did not like it. Okay. So next, we have something that breaks my heart to do. In 2019, the top-rated horror game was Resident Evil 2 Remake. The RE2 remake. It's going to the top of my God tier list. I'm sorry, Silent Hill 2. I love you, and I think you are the epitome of great games. The Resi 2 remake, dude? Oh my God. I have never been so enraptured by a horror game the way I was by Resident Evil 2. I was obsessed. It was so good. Like, to the point to where I didn't even take a break before jumping back into, because I did Claire's campaign first. I dove right into Leon's right afterwards. I adored this game. So it's going to God tier, and unfortunately that means we're going to move Resi Code Veronica down to decent, and give me flack all you want, Eternal Darkness is going down to super okay. This might get moved to things I hate it just because I don't like the uneven amount. Whatever. Okay. So Resi 2, it was released January 25th, 2019, and it scored a 9 out of 10, which is phenomenal. I think it was a 10 out of 10, personally. Okay. Next, we have Half-Life Alyx, which was the top-rated game in 2020. It was released on March 23rd. Scored a 9 out of 10. Half-Life Alyx is a virtual reality game that brings you back into the world of Half-Life, which was a really cool dystopian sci-fi horror game that I personally really loved. I only played Half-Life 2. I think I really just played it because I had the orange box, which came with it. But I did really like it. Half-Life Alyx is probably one of, if not the best virtual reality experiences I've ever had. It is too good. It's going at the... I'm putting at the end of God. I'm putting it above BioShock in God tier. Yeah, I absolutely loved Half-Life Alyx. It was really good. She's really good. But yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. It was such a good game. Next we have... This is the problem. I should have altered my categories more because, like, some of these don't truly express my, like, feelings. No, I mean, obviously we're gonna keep it. I got 3 years left of this, not my life. Okay, so 2021, we come to the groundbreaking Resident Evil 8 Village. It was released on May 7th of 2021. Scored a 9 out of 10. This is one I believe should have scored a 10 out of 10. Phenomenal game. I played through it on my channel. It was utterly terrifying. It was so good. It's beautiful and tragic and terrifying. God, I loved Resi Village, and it's going in God tier. I'm actually gonna put that above Half-Life Alyx. We're just gonna have a large God tier because the next, so that brings us now to 2022, to another game that we played through on my channel. Actually, is my most watched Let's Play, I believe, that I have on here, like full series. So the top-rated horror game of 2022 is The Quarry, from the studio that brought us Until Dawn and many other games, unfortunately also The Inpatient. The Quarry was released on June 10th, 2022, and scored a 9 out of 10. It's going right below Silent Hill 2. The Quarry was one of the most intense experiences I've ever had. Also, BioShock's going down to decent because I love BioShock, but I don't believe it's God tier looking at what it's compared to now. But yeah, no, The Quarry was so good. And also Brenda Song is in it. How am I not going to give Brenda Song God tier? She is an icon and someone I hope someday becomes my best friend. So like, hit me up, Brenda. Let's be besties. My boss's name is Brenda. What if she's secretly Brenda Song? Brenda Song, are you posing as a white woman in Massachusetts? Let me know. Let me know, okay? Yeah, no, The Quarry was phenomenal. Everybody who's in it is great. It's just such a good game. God, it's such a good game. And then lastly, it brings us to the year of our Lord and Savior's 2023. And according to Beyonce's Internet, the top-rated horror game of 2023 was the Resident Evil 4 remake. Now, do I think that Alan Wake 2 is going to overtake it? For me, absolutely. For the world, probably not. And I'm going to preface this now with, I have not played Resident Evil 4 yet. I haven't. I personally think that the Dead Space remake would rank higher, at least for me. I don't know everybody else, but I heard it was phenomenal. But Resident Evil 4 remake, I have not played it yet, so I will not give it a tier because that just feels unfair. But it did release March 24th of 2023, and it scored a 10 out of 10, which, looking at this, I believe is the only 10 out of 10 on this list that I found. Again, all of this was done on GameSpot with their shoddy filter searches, so it could all be wrong. None of these could have ever done anything. But this is our list. So starting with God tier, we have at the top Resident Evil 2 Remake, then we have Silent Hill 2, The Quarry, State of Decay, Resident Evil 8 Village, and Half-Life Alyx. Decent tier, we have BioShock, Resident Evil Code Veronica, Alice Madness Returns, Amnesia The Dark Descent, and Clock Tower 3. In Super OK, we have Condemned 2 Bloodshot, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, Dark Souls 2, Resident Evil 4, and The Walking Dead, A New Frontier. Then we have, in Thanks I Hate It, The Inpatient, and Resi 5. Those are the games of shame. They should feel bad. And then lastly, in I Don't Know Her, we have Resident Evil 4 Remake, we have Soma, Ghost Hunter, Lone Survivor, and of course, the all-great Monster House for the Game Boy Advance. This is purely my opinion, obviously, guys. I do not claim to be an expert on game criticism. I'm not. I don't know anything about game design. I don't know enough to be able to, truly rank these games. But from my own personal experience as a horror game fan and gamer in general, this is how I feel. If you disagree, let me know. Tell me in the comments what you like or disliked about my choices. Tell me if you would have put something somewhere else. Tell me if there's a game that actually ranked higher for one of these years and I just missed it, and what you think of that game. And then if you really, really hate how I ranked it, don't watch my videos. That's fine. If you don't like me, I'm okay with that. I get it. I'm a unique flavor. It's okay. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy this video, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe, like, and or comment. Also, feel free to check out my TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, which are all listed in the description below. Beneath that, you'll find a link invite to the Discord server, so feel free to hop on and join the 282. But thanks again for watching, everybody, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye! There are so many good horror games. Just for me to have to talk about Resident Evil 5. Ugh.